Welcome to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm NFL Genius Gene Walzak, and to my right, I have Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, Mr. William Shallcross. How are you feeling tonight, Bill?
Lovely. How was your Wednesday, sir?
Oh, it's good. It's good. Feel good. Ready to rock and roll. Good trade deadline. Good World Series Game 7 last week. Good college football week. Outside the fact that when I pick a national champion, they just decide to lose all their games, which is hilarious. I'm not picking the third one. I'm just giving up on this season. It's over. It is what it is. But we got a lot to get into. But before we get into anything, I got to listen. If you didn't notice, this is episode 265, baby edition. Missing from us tonight is Kent State zone, Cleveland zone, and a brand new font. College Cutthroat.
Papa Dukes.
Congratulations to him and Audia. Super, super happy for them. Super, super happy for the family. Just got to meet the little guy a second ago. I'm thrilled. Feel great.
Little baby Uriah.
It's going to be a good week, but congratulations, Katra and Audia. Super, super happy for you guys. And, you know, we'll dedicate this episode to you. Me and Bill will not fight as much. I'll go as much. I can't promise no fights.
We'll try.
We'll try. We got a lot to get into, though. Game 7, right? And I want to ask this question because I feel like this Game 7 was, I don't want to say it was the best Game 7 of all time in baseball. I want to say it could be the best Game 7 of all time in any sport.
Ooh.
And listen, it sounds crazy because, like, you had a Game 7 with Luis Gonzalez walking off, Arizona Diamondbacks, New York Yankees. It's one of my favorite games. But, like, I felt like this game was better. Andy Podges absolutely putting the truck stick on Kiki Hernandez in left field, saying, you're not dropping this ball. The 9-hitter coming up with 1 out, top of the 9th inning, down a run, and goes Yabo. The Will Smith coming off the bag, getting back on the bag. If I'm a Toronto Blue Jays fan, I'm sick. I can imagine. I mean this, Charlie. Could you imagine if that was Philadelphia sports? Like, if that was a Philly team, how bad that would be?
Oh, the bridges would be packed. I'll start there. If you're Toronto, you got to be sick. You should have won Game 6. You should have won Game 7. It's the Kiki thing is hilarious because he said he literally laid on the ground because he wasn't hurt. It's because he thought they just lost the World Series. And when Patches came running over to pick him up and told him he caught the ball, he just popped up because he realized the game wasn't over. That story that came out is hilarious. I will say this, to your point, I don't know if it's the best Game 7 ever. I can't think of, off the top of my head, another Game 7 that had that many dramatic moments, though. And I guess that's one of the things you have to have to have a great Game 7. To your point, Rojas, the home run. You know, we talked about him last week, and you know how lost he was at the plate, and you know he couldn't even hit himself out of a paper bag. Hits a freaking solo home run to tie the game. Makes the great play in the field after he loses his footing. Still throws a strike to Will Smith at home. And that leads to his foot coming off the plate, which you already mentioned. Almost didn't get it back down, like a tenth of a second in time, where that run scores there and the game's over. I think you got to tip your cap to Yamamoto, coming in on 1 day's rest and
no day's rest.
No day. Well, yeah. So
no rest. Even
no
the next
rest.
day.
And pitched, pitch his ass off, won himself the MVP. There were just so many. I mean, like I remember the bottom of the ninth, Vlad hit that ball 3-0, and he hit it and kind of stared at it. I yelled. I thought it was gone. And then we already talked about the catch in left field. I don't think Kiki's catching that ball. I will say this: if you don't come out on the winning end of it, like to your point, if that was the Phillies World Series and you're the Dodgers, it's worth the stress to sit there and go through it and be on the edge of your seat for 4 hours every night, and the winning in at the end is definitely worth it. If you're Toronto, though, man, oh man, I go back and just point to so many missed opportunities. I think you could argue they outplayed the Dodgers a lot of the series. The Dodgers just keep coming at you, though, and I just feel like it's one of those things where it's like you feel like you get a breath and you're like, oh, I got 4, 5, 6 this inning, but then they get a couple hits and then it's like bang, now you got to face the top of that lineup again next inning. They were always up at the wrong time, and it was crazy. It was a great World Series to watch. It was a great World Series to watch. Like I said, if you didn't have any skin in the game, I probably would have died if it was the Phillies. I probably wouldn't have made it through it. But yeah, I mean, a great ending to a really good Major League Baseball season. I hate that the Dodgers won. The more I got into that series, I really wanted Toronto to win. And it's the Dodgers are becoming the new Yankees. You mentioned the Arizona Yankees World Series before, and I think that gets so much love because everybody loved to watch the Yankees lose that World Series. But I don't know.
It wasn't nearly as good of a World Series, though. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that this World Series was that good either. Everyone said amazing series. I actually think the series was rather boring for the majority of the series. Game 1 was a laugher. Game 2 was not a great baseball game. I think it was 13-4. It just, I don't know, man. There was a lot of games that just weren't competitive. 6-2. I don't know. There's a lot of games that just weren't competitive in that series. And I follow that Game 7 was incredible, but Game 6 was boring. It was good, but boring. Game 5 was absolutely awful. Savage struck out 12. The Dodgers didn't hit at all. Tuesday's game, the 6-2 game, Bieber over Ohtani wasn't really that great. The 18-inning game and Game 7 were the two games that were likable to me. No?
Listen, I don't think you're ever going to get it's very rare. I mean, the only I guess you could probably, I mean, you can't get it in football. And it's very rare that even in NHL or NBA where you get a 7-game series in the finals where every game is competitive and comes down to the end of the game. You're always going to have blowouts, but I feel like the ebb and the flow and the build, as you keep going, when you get to a dramatic Game 6 and Game 7 like that, is what makes them great. So I totally agree with your point. I think there was a couple laughers, but again, it went back and forth. So it was like, every time you thought Dodgers were like, all right, they're going to go run away high now. Then Toronto was like, bang, like Toronto won Game 5. And I was like, damn, LA's got to go to Toronto now, win 2 games. And you could have argued that Toronto should have won both those games. And Dodgers pulled both of them out. So, again, I think prisoner moment, to your point, I think a lot of people use adjectives, they throw them around probably when they shouldn't sometimes, but I still think it was a really good World Series.
I'll ask you 2 questions.
Do it.
Better World Series, Cardinals Rangers 2011, which was my favorite World Series the Phillies weren't involved in.
That was the freeze one.
Yeah, 7 games, 10-9 in extra innings in Game 6. Like, that was an incredible series. So what was the better series, that series or this series? That's my favorite World Series that the Phillies weren't involved in. Now that series hurt a ton, so it took me a while to really understand like how great that series was, because that was the year that the Phillies, fell apart versus the Cardinals.
Yeah. Game 6 is super dramatic. Obviously, you Freeze hits the game tying home run. It comes up again in the 10th or 11th, whatever it was, and hits the game winner. That's the famous Joe Buck call, and we'll see you tomorrow night. That was a very good World Series. Good star power in that one too. I guess you could make an argument for that, because that's a better. I think the ending of Game 6 of this one sucked the way it went. It was dramatic, but again, if you're talking about quality baseball, it's really not there. I don't know how you get picked off second base there, doubled off. So to your point, yeah, you could definitely make that argument for the Cardinals and Rangers.
I need your pick.
I don't remember Game 7 in that series though.
It was 6-2, 6-3.
Yeah, see, extra innings Game 7, dude. It's hard to beat. It's like going to overtime in Game 7 of an NBA game or an NHL game. Like every puck that gets shot towards the net, you're praying it doesn't bounce off 3 people and trickle in. And every shot that goes up in an NBA game, it's so nerve wracking, and that's what makes an extra inning Game 7 great.
It was 6-2. I looked it up. I can't believe I remembered it off the top of my head. That's how good the series was.
I would go Dodgers. I would go Dodgers, Blue Jays.
Okay, then better postseason performance, World Series performance, and these were almost identical. Yamamoto, he won 3 games in the series.
Mm-hmm.
On no rest, pitched 3 innings out of the bullpen in Game 7 in extra innings. Or 2014, the Mad Bum won 2 games in the series, had a .94 ERA, and threw 5 innings in relief in Game 7. Who had the better? Yamamoto for me was insane because he pitched Game 6 and with no rest, he came in and closed out Game 7. But Bumgarner statistically was better, but Bumgarner also did the 1-4-7 thing, so he had regular rest a little bit.
Yeah,
so
for me,
which one is more impressive?
For me, it's Yamamoto.
Okay.
The next day, 3 innings, scoreless, like no room for error, like you can't hang a pitch, like his arm couldn't have felt good. For me, it's Yamamoto.
Okay. Yamamoto is better. Bumgarner was unhittable, and statistically, ERA and WHIP, Bumgarner was better. But I think the fact that the Blue Jays team, the way they were hitting every other night that wasn't Yamamoto was insane. Going no rest and pitching the 10th and 11th, 9th, 10th, and 11th was insane. I was so locked in to this World Series.
Yeah, five innings is still impressive, but at least it was probably 3 days rest. That really tilts it in Yamamoto's favor, in my opinion.
It was a great World Series. Postseason was good. You had a couple Game 7s that led to this moment, including a Game 7 Seattle versus Toronto. It felt like this was Toronto's year of destiny. It really did. And there's so many ways that Toronto could have won that series. And I was floored that they didn't win it, especially after watching Game 6. They get shut down. Then they come up and they take an early lead in Game 7. And it felt like they were in cruise control. And so many things needed to happen for the Dodgers to win that Game 7. Let's talk about after the World Series. With baseball, it's weird. Their free agency is like now. It's like we're open. We're open for business. And as a Philly fan, I want to ask you a question real quick. the Phillies look like they're going to land one of two players. They're either going to re-sign Kyle Schwarber, which is not looking likely, but it looks like they're all in on Pete Alonso. Would you, as a Philly fan, would you rather have Pete Alonso or Kyle Schwarber?
I don't think Pete Alonso will have any problem coming here and fitting into the locker room. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. Like, never heard a negative thing about Pete Alonso in that aspect. He's obviously going to play first base or DH, which puts, I guess, Bryce back in the outfield. I think the chemistry with Schwarber would definitely be missed. And again, I think that's important. Productivity, Alonso's a lot younger. I'm assuming the sticking point with Kyle is going to be the fourth year, which I think is going to make a lot of people hesitant. You know, paying a 39-year-old DH a lot of money based upon what he's done the last 3 years is risky. It's hard for me. It's hard for me not to say I don't want Schwarber back. I guess you could say. Yeah, I mean, if you put a gun to my head, I'm taking Schwarber. But I will say I'm not mad or upset if it ends up being Alonso, like a lot of people are. Like a lot of people are like Alonso sucks. It's not true. It's just not true. You cannot like him if you not like him if you didn't play for the Mets. Blah blah blah. I would say if you put their numbers on paper, they're probably not terribly far apart. Alonso can play the field. He's a better defender than Schwarber is, and he's younger. So,
well, the thing is this: Alonso fits better in the Phillies lineup. Like a
right
power back Philadelphia has missed for years. To have a 2-3 or a 3-4 of Harper Alonso, and then to have the ability to prolong Bryce's career by having him play half his innings in right field and half his innings at the DH, that would be helpful also. And it allows you to get JT more at bats. On his day off, he can just hit. You can sit him a little bit more. You can use the DH a lot differently than you did this year with Schwarber, with Alonso playing first base every day. I think it'll be interesting, but I'd rather leave this offseason with Pete Alonso than Kyle Schwarber. Is Kyle Tucker all but signed with LA?
I don't know. I've heard different things with LA coming out because, again, with the CBA coming up, there's a lot of talk about a lot of things are changing. I don't know if they want to go saddle themselves with another, $250, $300 million contract that, if things change, would drastically affect their payroll. I mean, would I be surprised? No. The way they're throwing around money, I don't know where he lives. I don't know if they're talking about deferred money. I don't know how that's all going to shake out. I think there's a chance he stays with Chicago. I would assume the Phillies would be interested, but I don't. It's tough this time of year because there's a lot of people that will release certain things to kind of misdirect other teams, in which way somebody's going. The exclusive signing period for your free agents is over tomorrow night, I believe. I think it's tomorrow night. And then after that, like you said, it really just becomes like everybody becomes a free agent if they don't sign. So it becomes a wild, wild west. I hope he doesn't sign there because that'll suck. But I think there's already things in the works to where, you can be like, yeah, you can defer money, but it's all going to count against your salary cap that year, which is the way I think it should be. So, you could pay Shohei $30 million 25 years from now, but the 65 that's on his contract is going to go towards your salary cap this year, which is what should happen, in my opinion. So
that's fair. Let me ask you this question. What is the likelihood that the Phillies walk away from free agency without Schwarber, Alonso, or Rangers signed?
None.
Zero.
I would say between Schwarber, Alonso, Tucker, or Suarez, they're one of the few. They're one of a handful of teams that can really.
I didn't say Suarez and Tucker. I said, what is the likelihood that they walk away without Pete Alonso or Kyle Schwarber?
I would say zero.
So they get one or the other.
I think they get one or the other. They're, like I said, they're one of the few teams that can afford them. I think there's other teams. You got to realize too, there's other teams that can offer Schwarber $35 million a year, but he's also going to be leaving a team that was in the playoffs every year he was here. So, you can go talk about going to Cincinnati or going somewhere else that's going to pay you, but if you want to spend the last couple of years of your career not making the playoffs, then that's a risky run too. So, he has a lot of strong relationships with people here. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays. I won't be shocked if he goes, but I don't think there's any way the Phillies swing and miss with everybody in free agency. They just have too much money.
Once again, I didn't say everybody.
I know, but I mean, you're talking about big names, though.
There's a lot of big names.
Yeah.
I think this free agency is loaded with big names.
There's popular people. There's impact people. There's not a ton of both.
By the way, Bo Bichette, after hitting that 3-run homer, if they would have won that World Series, he could have just signed a contract in Toronto and called it a day.
Yeah.
There was no way he was going anywhere if they would have won that World Series after that home run. He looked like Kirk Gibson rounding the bases. The guy couldn't even run.
He'll be an interesting name to watch because I don't think he stays in Toronto. So I think there's some bad blood there. So
the Braves signed optioned Chris.
Yeah, Sale. Chris Sale decided to stay, signed an option. Again, I mean they have exclusive negotiating rights. I'm pretty sure it's till tomorrow night. And then if they don't sign, then everybody ultimately ends up becoming a free agent. So, we'll see. I mean, there's a chance they sign somebody before tomorrow night. Probably not likely, but
I guess we'll see how it plays out. MLB seems that they're free agent. A lot of their things normally get done over the winter meeting, so we'll see how that plays out, and kind of.
Well, because there's always the big names that kind of set the market. So the agents with the really good players, not the elite, they kind of have to wait and see, what Schwarber's going to get, what's Pete Alonso going to get, and then it's like, okay, he got that, so my guy should be somewhere in here, and you see all those guys get signed real quick. So that's kind of the only thing that I think. In one aspect, I think it's cool that it starts right after the season, like you said, but part of it is annoying knowing none of this probably gets done until January or, around that time anyway. So it's a little bit of a wait, which stinks.
Yeah. You're right. It's too long of an off season. I think NFL is the best free agency period. Happens so quick. I think they're the best at it.
I think them and NBA, I think, are the same. You know pretty much everything that's going to happen the night before. They just can't make it official until the next business day. But the stuff leaks, and you get the frenzy. NBA especially, you get the frenzy overnight. You go to bed and you wake up the next morning and 5 max superstars have signed with new teams. It's crazy. But NFL's the same way. So baseball, like I said, baseball's become very dependent upon the winter meetings because they allow the agents to show up. So it's you have all the GMs in one spot, all the agents, everything. So it makes it too easy for everybody just to go there.
Control said the NBA is annoying. I agree with him. I'm with Gene. NFL is great how they do it. Thoughts on Tariq Skubal? I'll say this. They signed Flaherty to a 1-year, $20 million.
Yep.
I think they're going to run it back one more year with Skubal. But if they do not sign him to a long-term extension this year, they better trade him, because if you lose all that assets for him to go somewhere else, I don't like it.
Couldn't agree more.
And I don't think Detroit signs him. I think Tariq Skubal is a Philadelphia Philly in 2 years.
Well, that would be interesting.
Well, I think he's going to replace Dak Wheeler's contract.
Yeah, he could. It's true. I mean, I wouldn't mind it at all. Probably should not.
But yeah, we'll see how that plays out in a few years. But I think they'll go one more year with him, and then I think they need to move him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't again. He is pitching asset wise. He's number 2 behind Skeens. Like that's the only guy that's going to get more, more assets out of a team than Scuba would. So you can't risk him walking out of town and getting nothing. And I know at that point you're telling your team, I don't want to say call it a rebuild, but you're at least saying, hey, we're taking a step back for a year or two until we can kind of, rebuild the pitching staff or rebuild it around somebody else. They do have Joby, and again, Casey Mize looked promising like he, did his rookie year. So they wouldn't be going back to square one or anything by any means, but you're losing the second best pitcher in the game probably. But the haul you would get back for him, I think would help at the major league level immediately. So
I don't have to imagine getting Scooble and Skeens, Tom Gallo. We'll talk about this closer to March, but this is going to be the greatest World Baseball Classic of all time. You're going to get Scooble and Skeens pitching for Team USA. That team, I cannot wait. This World Baseball Classic coming up is going to be the greatest World Baseball Classic of all time. If you thought the last one was the best one, this is going to be everybody's going to this one. I can't wait.
Yeah, I've already seen, projections for the rotations, assuming everybody opts in and the lineups and everything. And it's nuts. I don't know why they don't, especially after the last one and all the momentum they had. I don't know why they're not doing this, every year if they can. The guys like it so much better than spring training. Like it's spring training is so watered down now. The guys pitchers pitch 2 or 3 innings once a week. That's it, and they get ready. Like if you go down and watch the Phillies play for a week, you might not see Wheeler or any of those guys play. Like it's very watered down now. It's not as cool as it used to be. I'd rather watch the World Baseball Classic and the guys play for real.
I mean, that's way better than the All-Star game. The projected, I want to read this out loud to you, and then we're going to move forward. The projected Team USA starting lineup. Leading off, shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. Yep. Batting second base, Mookie Betts. Batting third, left fielder Kyle Tucker. Batting fourth, right fielder Aaron Judge. Batting fifth, first baseman Bryce Harper. Batting sixth, designated hitter Mike Trout. Batting seventh, at third base, we're just going to move a shortstop over to third base, Gunnar Henderson. Batting eighth, catching Adley Rushman. And batting ninth, manning the middle of the field, Jackson Merrill.
Where's what's his face from?
What?
Where's the big dumper from?
Oh, Cal Riley?
Yeah. Is he not American?
I think he's American.
Well, he's starting over Adley Rushman.
I don't know, man.
Is he Canadian, maybe?
Home country. Let's find out. I'm going to find out. He's from the United States, North Carolina. I just read the projected thing. I don't, don't messenger.
I'm not killing. I'm just saying if he's available, he's your starting catcher.
North Carolina. That was quick. Suggs is right in the chat.
There you go. And then who they have? Center Jackson Merrill.
Jackson Merrill. Defensive.
I guess, but I mean,
batting ninth. I'm all right with that.
I get it.
All right. Got to move forward. A little NFL action. Before we get into the trade deadline, I want to talk about this past week. And one of the craziest games that you'll ever see, the Chicago Bears versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm watching the game with Ank. Ank's over with me, and he goes, the funny thing about the Bengals is every single time they get a big play, they screw it up. You'll see like a bad penalty, or they get stopped on third down. You see illegal contact or a defensive holding. They just bangle up the whole play. So the Bengals are down 14 points in the fourth quarter. They throw a pick in the fourth quarter. The pick gets ran back for a touchdown. I don't know what the hell happened here. And you can watch the video. It's kind of wild. I watched the All-22 on it. I didn't see the refs blow it dead. I didn't see the guy touched on the ground. He runs it back for a touchdown. And they go, nope. He was down. We're going to start back here. Like, I'm like, what the hell happened here? I don't know how that worked. Bengals get the ball back. They score. They kick an onside kick. A Bears player steps on the ball 7 yards. Like, the kick is too short. This guy steps on the ball. Bengals recover. They score a touchdown. They take the lead in the game because they did that thing where you score a touchdown, you go for 2, and they go to the next one. You just have to kick the extra point. They take the lead, so the Bears get the ball with 38 seconds, 47 seconds, whatever it is, and Caleb Williams throws a pass to Colston Loveland. 3 Bengals defenders run into each other. I don't know what the hell happened, and then Colston Loveland's running in for a touchdown. And we're like, Bengals gonna bangle. But the part that was most interesting was in the post-game press conference. I call them the Chases. Chase Brown and Jamar Chase. Those guys did not hold back on their own defense. Jamar Chase a little did. Chase Brown did not care. Did you hear what Chase Brown said in the press conference?
I did not.
I got to get the exact quote. Chase Brown. I want to get the exact. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, here we go. After the Bengals lost to the Bears, Chase Brown publicly criticized the defense. He was asked a question about, what were you feeling after you scored? And he goes, I felt like the defense needed to finish the effing game and play complimentary football after the offense scored to take the lead. He expressed his frustration over defense's inability to secure the win, highlighting they need a crucial stop after the offense put them ahead. Zach Taylor later addressed these comments, acknowledging Brown's frustrations, but stating that it wasn't the right way to handle the situation. I don't know. I loved it. I don't care. I know it's not right. Taylor said that's not how you react. And as one of our best players, our most high character players, I think it was a moment of frustration. I loved it.
There's no ambiguity there. There's no wondering what he was talking about. Listen, I think you factor that in, and then who did they screw the game up against 2 weeks ago?
The Jets, they lost 39-38. The Jets, they lost 47-42 to the Bears. I don't think the Jets and the Bears combined to score that many points all year, but they scored 39 and 47 points at Cincinnati. That defense is atrocious.
I think you lose 2 back-to-back games like that, especially to your point when you're an offensive player and you're like, we just put 240 spots up and we're going to lose both games. I think that is nothing but just pure, unfiltered frustration.
It's
probably didn't go well over the locker room, but
no, probably not. But it was hilarious and it was funny to watch. It was such a fun game to watch. We were laughing. It was like one of those things where you're just like, I can't believe this shit's happening. The Bears are trying to lose the game. They're stepping on the football on an onside kick that doesn't even go 10 yards. Then the Bengals score a touchdown, and the Bengals figure out a way to lose the game. That defense is like, I hate saying shit like this because I think people get carried away. But that defense is a step below Ohio State. Ohio State's defense might be as good. It's crazy how bad that Bengals defense is. They can't stop anyone.
It's really bad. And the crazy thing is, I think when Joe went down, a lot of people were like, all right, that's going to be the end of the season. But now you still have an offense that's functioning at such a high level with a 41 or 42-year-old journeyman at this point and Joe Flacco. And you should have won the last 2 weeks and still been at least in the conversation for a wild card spot. And you lose both. You lose both in comedic fashion. I get where Chase Brown's coming from. I do. To your point, I don't, or Zach Taylor's point, I don't think it's necessarily the best.
Not conducive.
Not conducive to air out your frustrations that way, but also doesn't mean that he's wrong either.
Charlie, coming in this year, do you know? I'm serious. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm going to trivia you right now. Do you know what school Kyle Monangai went to?
No, I do not. I'm not even going to guess. You just keep
He was the running back for the Bears this week. He was a 7th round draft pick out of Rutgers. Okay? 7th rounder.
Yep.
When DeAndre Swift missed the game, this guy ran 26 carries, 176 yards versus that Bengals defense. Anybody can run on that. 7th rounders out of Rutgers.
Give me the rock. All right. Credit to their offensive line and, taking advantage of the opportunity when you get it. Next man up.
Craziness. Flacco throws for 470 in a loss. It's insanity. Other games that I found interesting. By the way, this week was the Eagles had a bye week. And I don't want to be this guy, but it might have been the best week for the Eagles all year. The Lions lost to the Vikings. The Packers lost to the Panthers. The Cowboys lost on Monday Night Football to the Cardinals. I hope Jaden Daniels feels better, but Jaden Daniels is basically out for the year. They lost to the Seahawks. The Niners went into MetLife and smacked around Jackson Dart and the Giants. The Eagles clinched the friggin' division on a bye week in week 9. Like, what? It was one of the greatest weeks for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they didn't play. Madness. J.J. McCarthy, which, by the way, he stinks. I don't care what anybody says. That guy's awful. He's awful. He's atrocious. Took 5 sacks and a QBR of 54, threw for 143 yards. But they got to win because that defense absolutely controlled Jared Goff, and that passing game and that run game didn't do anything. I don't know. Did Jahmyr Gibbs show up on the injury report this week? Because they just decided not to use him for whatever reason. I don't understand. Jahmyr Gibbs, their lead guy, he had 3 catches and 9 carries. David Montgomery's sitting over here with 2 catches and 11 carries. You would realize who your top running back is? I'm not saying that because he's on my fantasy team or anything, but probably am. The Lions look like trash this week. Did you watch that game?
Parts of it. I mean, they've had a couple games this year where, Jahmyr especially. I think we all expect David Montgomery's carries to be not as much as the 50-50 like it was 2 years ago, with how much Jahmyr has just progressed and emerged as, a top 3 back in the league. But to have both those guys, like you said, almost just kind of be ghosts to the box score, kind of unacceptable when you were in a game that wasn't where you didn't have to throw the ball all the time. Like, it's not like they were chasing 21 the whole game and it was like, yeah, we can't afford to run the ball, take all this time off the clock. The game wasn't like that. So, it's a little befuddling for sure, game plan wise, to not have your best player touching the ball all the time.
What is this? Because most teams come off a bye week and look slow, and 70% of the time get an L the following week. I don't think that stats right.
Honestly, I don't. 70% is way too high.
I'm going to look it up. Winning percentage off the bye. NFL. You want to do this year or the last 2 years?
2 last year. Because this year is incomplete. So it's
winning percent. All right. Last year, that's betting favorites. Winning percentage teams off the bye. There we go. That's better. 53%. 53%. They're winning more than they're losing. What are we talking about? We're just making stats up?
I say 70 is really high.
85% of stats, by the way, are made up on the spot. Do you get the joke in that one?
I got it. I got you.
Another game I got to talk about. Is this now? I shouldn't. This is wrong. Daniel Jones turned the ball over 5 times, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles. He fumbled the ball 3 times, but recovered one of them. And a 13 QBR. Is this the Steelers' defense just showing up, or is this what more to come to see with Daniel Jones?
I don't think it's either. I think it's Pittsburgh kind of finally put a really good defensive game together.
So Steelers defense showing up.
And I think, fumbling the ball, sacks, stuff like that. I mean, it does happen. Interceptions weren't great. I think Indy overall just didn't play a good game. I don't think it was just him. I think the worrisome part is we've seen, to be concerned for a Colts fan is you've seen Daniel Jones have a lot of these games in New York before. So it's like, has the clock finally struck midnight and he's going to turn into a pumpkin and go back to Giants Daniel Jones, or did Pittsburgh just have a really good game and Indy didn't, and we just get back to business this week. So I'm sure that is the doubt that's creeping up in everybody's heads in out in Indianapolis.
I'll say this. Daniel Jones has looked great this year, and I watched that full game. I watched it on Red Zone, and then I watched the replay on the All 22. I didn't look at the PFF grades for the offensive line for the Colts, but they got manhandled. They got destroyed. I don't know how much of that was on Daniel Jones or how much of that was on the offensive line not being able to block the Steelers. I said this on Monday, and I'll say it again. And maybe you could laugh at me and tell me I'm wrong. Do you think the Colts lost the game on Sunday because the equipment manager gave them the wrong cleats?
No.
You say no, but that field stinks. And it looked like they were sliding all around. They couldn't block. That offensive line's been incredible all year. The Steelers' defensive line has looked pedestrian all year. Could they had the wrong cleats on, Bill?
I mean, they could have the wrong cleats on. You're talking about.
You're still in the chat. It's kind of what I was going at.
You still got a lot of other things that went wrong there that I don't think you would say are cleat related.
Listen.
Yeah. I guess there's probably validity to it. Again, I just don't think that's still the number one reason why they lost the game.
That was Gene. Gene looked it up. I'm kidding. And then Sunday afternoon, you guys both picked the Chiefs last week. And I told you that no one quite circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. It's their Super Bowl. It's their Super Bowl every year. Josh Allen now 5-0 regular season against Patrick Mahomes. And 0-4 in the playoffs.
Yeah, I went with Kansas City simply because the 3 weeks before that, they started to look like Kansas City. I thought they would go in there. And quite frankly, I thought the last 2 weeks, Buffalo didn't look great. And I thought Kansas City would go in there and steal one. I'm glad Buffalo won. I don't root for Kansas City. I'd rather Buffalo win. But that was my thought process. Like I said, it looked like Kansas City kind of righted the ship and, they're playing really good defense on top of the offense was starting to move now that they had everybody back healthy and off suspension and everything else. But you got to hand to Buffalo, again. Josh played well at home, and that's a crazy stat, 5-0 in the regular season, but 0-4 in the playoffs. So I'm sure he would switch a couple of those games if he could.
Let's talk about the NFL trade deadline. Winners and losers. Chris Ballard got on the SM Picks bus and traded not 1, 2 first-round picks in A.D. Mitchell for Sauce Gardner, who's been awful this year. It was bad. He was bad at the end of last year. A lot of scouts said the moment they start calling Sauce Gardner for being handsy and calling fouls on him, he would struggle. He has not been a very well-graded cornerback. The Colts went out and got Sauce Gardner from the Jets for 2 first-round draft picks and A.D. Mitchell. Your thoughts on the trade?
I think you're looking at it that you hope him getting out of New York and change of scenery kind of, wakes him up a little bit and playing for a contender now. 2 firsts is wild. On top of the fact he just signed an extension, so they just inherited. I think his extension was like 120 or something like that. So it comes with a lot of money as well.
It's a great deal for the Jets.
Oh, it's a terrific deal for the Jets. I think it's a little bit of a misstep for Chris Ballard, who I think is normally a very kind of on the spot GM. So I don't know if they saw something different than other people are, or if they really, again, they're looking at him and they're like, he's going to come here and brand new attitude and getting him out of New York and that situation and playing for a winner. We're going to get a motivated guy. I hope they're right, because 2 firsts and a lot of dead money possibility is not a good trade for the Colts if he doesn't work out.
Speaking of the Jets unloading picks and unloading players and getting picks, in the scratch your head department, the Dallas Cowboys traded Mozzie Smith, their first-round draft pick from like just 2 years ago, a second-rounder, their second-rounder, and then a first-rounder in 2027. And the interesting part of this first-rounder is it's whatever one's better for the Jets. So they get 2 shots at the higher draft pick with this Quinnen Williams. What is Dallas thinking? Did Jerry Jones just, hey, I want to be a part of this trade deadline too? Quinnen Williams, who's got 3 sacks, who's been a ghost. I mean, he's a good run stopper. It doesn't help them around the edge. They have no edge pressure at all right now.
No edge. Again, I don't know if they think this is going to turn into Quinnen Williams from 3 years ago, but I would argue even if he does, how much of the needle is he really moving for Dallas? For a team that's already cash strapped, that already had to trade Mike away because they weren't going to be able to afford him, and you make this deal when you have a 7% chance to make the playoffs. Like, that's not a playoff team right now, and they're not now, even if they got him. So I don't know why you're giving away young players under cheap money, future ones, and all this draft capital for a team that's going to need them to sign good young players on rookie deals to fit under the cap for a guy that isn't going to make you a playoff team. It's a it might have been
their cap again. They picked up another player. They get rid of Micah, and they're like, all right, a little cap relief. We could sign some people, and they bring in Quinnen Williams' contract, which is hilarious. I was floored when I seen the deal, and I was
it's probably the worst trade of the deadline.
I don't even know how Cowboys fans can defend it. I will say this: the funniest part about watching Monday Night Football was Jerry Jones was like telling the media, he's like, I have a trade already done, but I'll let you guys find out tomorrow. And Troy Aikman is watching their defense play. He goes, Jerry better not make that trade go, because one player ain't fixing this. And I was dying because that defense was atrocious. Jacoby Brissett looked like Joe Montana.
To my point, man, that is that team has a 7% chance to make the playoffs as we sit now. And I don't, that wasn't a trade that was like all of a sudden you're like, oh damn, like that's the guy they need to get over the hump, or they're not losing 3-point games all over the place. Jacoby Brissett just came in your stadium as a backup and just lit you up. Like, they're just not a good football team. They're not. Like, so again, I don't know why you don't. If anything, I'd be a seller, try to get more draft picks because with your salary cap situation, that's what you're going to need. You're going to need to not miss on draft picks, sign young kids to rookie deals, and have them for a couple years to make this team better. Dak's killing you at $65 million. You just re-signed CD. You couldn't. You lost your arguably best player, traded Micah. I just don't know what they're doing. Somebody has to step in and just be like, Jerry can't be the guy to run this team day to day and have final say on decisions anymore. He's out of touch.
I mean, out of touch is an understatement. It was a terrible trade. If I'm the Jets, I think the Jets walk away massive winners. They get massive draft capital. I think they have 3 first-round picks in 2027. They have 2 first-round picks in 2026. They have 2 second-round picks both years. Good for them. They walk around this and they can rebuild fully. The Eagles were busy at the trade deadline. I would love your opinion on the Eagles trade deadline pickups. One of them, Jalen Phillips, 3rd-round draft pick. It was a comp pick for the one we lost for Josh Sweat in 2027. And then you have 2 cornerback picks that felt like they were dice rolls. They felt like we were shooting dice. Hopefully it works out. We'll see what happens. And Michael Carter and Jair Alexander. Jair Alexander once was the best cornerback in football. In 2 games for the Baltimore Ravens, he looked atrocious. I don't know if it's like a new spot, but he's been injured a lot. I would love for Jair Alexander to he's 28 years old. He's not like he's 34. Like you would think Jair Alexander, by the way they're talking about him, is just so washed and over the hill. But his injuries have been a lot. And then Michael Carter, who restructured his contract to play for the Eagles, took way less money. Like, I'll leave New York, no problem. Which one of these picks are you most excited for? And then is it Howie season?
It's Howie season. I mean, you make 3 picks that all have potential. I think large upside. He didn't give away anything big for any of the 3 of them. To your point, I think Jair didn't look great. We know what he's capable of, though. And to his point, he was playing next to a lot of other players that probably shouldn't have been on the field at that point in Baltimore. Baltimore's defense was banged up across the board. I'm not excusing his play, but he comes to this system and Vic puts him in different situations and uses them differently. Who knows? Again, we saw what it looked like at the peak. Michael Carter, again, another guy that I think that can help. I think either one of them, if they play, to a B level of what they're capable of, it's still an upgrade over what we had there. So I like the depth there, and Jalen Phillips is familiar with Vic's system. He had a great start to the season when he was there the year before he got hurt. So he sounds very excited and very relieved to be out of Miami, which I thought was very interesting watching his press conference. Didn't say anything bad, but you could tell that he was happy that he's going to be playing meaningful football, and he was, I think, very grateful to get out of that situation in Miami. And again, I don't think he's anything but an upgrade. We're struggling on the edge, and another guy that we can throw in there and stay fresh and hopefully produce. So it's hard to say how he didn't win the trade deadline again.
I mean, did a great job. Jalen Phillips had his best year under Vic Fangio. If Vic Fangio says go out and give me this player and it only costs a 3rd-round comp pick, which is basically going to be a 4th because it'll be after the 3rd round, and the Eagles are a good football team, I have no issues with that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And then taking it a step further, you look at the way the trade deadline played out for other teams. I want to get to this question because Seattle, Mike McDonald has done an incredible job with the Seattle Seahawks. That defense looks incredible. Sam Darnold, who everyone thought was a 1-year wonder, maybe it's just these quarterbacks can't play for the Jets. Sam Darnold took the Baker Mayfield route. Watch Jets, Panthers, figured out how to win again. What did Baker Mayfield do? Browns, Panthers, figured out how to win again. Maybe these quarterbacks aren't bad. Maybe these organizations just suck because Jackson Smith and Jigba looks like one of the best receivers in football right now. The Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold was 16 for 16 for 285 yards and 4 touchdowns at halftime versus the Commanders. The NFC's low. They added Rashid Shaheed, give them a deep threat for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I love the NFL trade deadline this year. There's definitely huge shakeups everywhere. And then another thing that was a ripple effect of the trade deadline, you see this came out. Quinnen Williams' brother, was demoted from starting linebacker for the Jets. And the Jets have told him he's been playing bad since training camp. And, you're no longer a starter. He talked to the media today and called himself. My coaches told me I was underperforming. I've been underperforming since training camp. He described himself as a non-starting Jet. He expects to be active Sunday against the Browns, but he's not sure about his role. I have no clue, he told the media. Aaron Glenn, I don't want to be an asshole when I say this. I really kind of rooted for you. I think Aaron Glenn's completely lost that Jets locker room. You trade some of those stars in Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, his brother Quincy Williams, you're like, he benches them. Like, they might be tanking intentionally. I think that's kind of what the Jets are doing right now.
I think it's fair to say that he's probably in a little over his head. I wouldn't disagree with the tanking, and I would say I think the scary part is, we're really only, we're barely halfway through the season. You have a long way to go. Long way to go. You're gonna start having cold weather games. You have a locker room that internally quits on you. It's going to get a lot uglier before it gets better. That'll be very interesting to see coming down the stretch. And if they're tanking, I guess they're going to tank and hopefully try to find a quarterback this time and not get it wrong. Not pick Zach Wilson this time.
And I only bring this up to the Jaguars have done a really good job of dropping the football this year. And Brian Thomas Jr., I don't know what happened to him in this offseason. I'll blame some of it on Trevor Lawrence, because when you get thrown enough hospital balls and you get blown up enough, you start getting apprehensive about catching the football. But the Jags went out and traded for Jacoby Myers, and their general manager, James Gladstone, when he was asked about the trade, he said Jacoby Myers is a superpower, and it's to not drop passes. And I could only hear that as a shot at his own team when he said it. Do you hear it that way, or am I just reading into words? He has a superpower to not drop passes.
Right? It's hard to, if you're in that locker room, to not look to hear that and be like, to feel some type of way about it. To your point, I think Brian Thomas Jr. has regressed a little bit. But again, you do go over the middle enough, or even kind of on the hash marks and get led to slaughter. Yeah, it makes you a little apprehensive to keep doing it and sticking your arms all the way out. I think between that, Travis Hunter has not been what they thought he was going to be. I think he started to play a little bit better before the injury, but I don't think I think a lot of people thought he was going to come in and dominate, and I thought that was unfair to him. And he wasn't going to, and he didn't. I think with Myers, we all thought he was going to get traded. This was inevitable. They were trying to trade him before the season because he said he didn't want to play in Vegas. He's definitely going to help. I think you've two good wide receivers now. It should help the passing game. But you got to, Trevor's got to get going and get back to where he was 2 years ago. And if they do that, I think they got a shot to make the playoffs, but they got a long way to go. So but I didn't. I liked the trade for them though.
Well, I did too. With Travis Hunter going on IR, I felt like you had to make a move for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I watched that game where the Jaguars played the Raiders, and you look at the final score, and you're like, it's 30-29. Both offenses were scoring. That's not how that game went. It was 9-6 going into the fourth quarter. And two teams that don't like winning football games found excuses to not win football games. Eventually, the Jaguars won the game, but Brock Bowers had 12 receptions for 127 yards and 3 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence had 9 carries for 24 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. I don't know what happened in this football game because I watched it and it was ugly. And it was not something I would be like, oh, wow, these guys played great. It was a back and forth battle. No, it was 9-6 going into the fourth quarter. And then madness broke loose. Jaguars are 5-3. If I told you that, did you know that they're 5-3? Like I didn't realize how good they were doing wins loss wise. And this week they run into a Texans team without CJ Stroud.
Davis Mills, baby. But to your point, I think you said it a couple sentences ago. They're winning ugly. They're not. They don't have that games where you're like, oh, you watch the highlights, you're like, oh, Jacksonville won 35-17, or they're blowing people out and they're super efficient offensively. No, they're winning like grind them out kind of ugly football games. So again, but I mean 5-3, keeps you in the race, keeps you in the conversation. You have 2 wide receivers now. You get Brian Thomas going again. And then obviously if you get Hunter back, and can get him going. I mean, it's a formidable offense if Sunshine Trevor can start playing well. So the defense has been keeping them in games. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting team to watch over the next month to 6 weeks. See how they react and see if they can stay in it.
They were up in. It was all but known that that CJ Stroud wasn't going to play, and they were 1.5-point dogs versus the Texans and Davis Mills. Ooh, yeah. We're going to head into this football week, and there's a game that happens on Monday night, and it's me and you here tonight. I'm going to talk about it.
Do it. It's a big game.
Eagles versus Packers. Monday Night Football. Eagles coming off the bye, a couple of new toys. The Packers coming off an obvious look ahead trap game.
Ugly.
100% trap game. They were looking ahead to Philadelphia. They it's funny because you've seen it in the media. They were talking about the matchup with Philadelphia before the matchup versus Carolina. It looked ugly. Jordan Love did not play good football. But the scary part about that is Jordan Love bounces back pretty well. And anytime he plays a bad football game, you can almost be sure the next game he plays is a good one. They're at home. This feels like it's become a rivalry game, which is stemmed from the fact that the Packers were the team that put together the proposal to ban the tush push. Micah Parsons is now in Green Bay. The Eagles knocked the Packers out of the playoffs last year, and now they get Philadelphia in Lambeau Field. The Eagles are 2.5-point dogs in this football game. The Packers' defense structured is actually really good to slow down Philadelphia. They play a zone concept, which Jalen struggles with often, and they're very good at stopping the run. They weren't good stopping the run this week. The Carolina Panthers put a lot of things on tape in which Rico Dowdle was basically running directly at Micah Parsons. Your thoughts on the game Monday night?
I'm going to start with the running back room because, like you said, I mean, it's been kind of, I don't want to say common knowledge, but a lot of teams have had a lot of success running the ball right at Micah. We've done it before. It's happened in a couple of playoff games before. It really takes him out of his rhythm and really doesn't allow him to settle into a game and kind of take it over. That being said, where is Saquon with the groin injury? I mean, the bye week came at a great time. It's not an injury you really kind of want to mess around with. So, be really curious to see the next couple days what his practice load looks like. And I think that'll give you a better indication of how much, if any, or if he's going to be full speed Monday night or if he's not going to play. That being said, I think coming off a bye, and I think having the week of rest, and I understand Green Bay will be kind of foaming at the mouth to get back on the field after the performance against Carolina, who in their own right though has played really well the last month. If we're being really honest, but for them to be able to go up to Green Bay and smack Green Bay around, that's kind of unheard of. But I like the Eagles' chances to go up there. I really do. I still think, as great as the run game has been, and Jordan Love can be. I like our secondary against some of the receivers they have. I think as long as our offense, can function and stay efficient, and Jalen can, get the ball out when he has to, not get stuck on his first read and just run. I think the Eagles can go to Green Bay and win. I think they do. I really do.
I hope so. It's a rivalry game. I don't want to pick it because I'm scared of it. Anytime the Eagles get in these games, I want them to win really badly. I don't pick it because I don't want to jinx them. Another monster football game this week, and then we'll get into pick them, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are taking on the New England Patriots in Tampa. Buccaneers are 6-2, I believe, and the Patriots are 7-2 on top of the AFC East, which, by half game, but they're still there. Your thoughts on Pats at Bucks? Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites. Looks like the Bucks are going to get back Chris Godwin. They're coming off the bye. What are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tampa Bay has had a good season. But again, they've been banged up as well. I think Mike Evans only ended up playing two and a half games. They haven't had Godwin most of the year. Emeka Ibuka has been great for them, but he was banged up, but he seems to be healthy now. Bucky Irvin's been out. I don't know if he's back this week, but if not,
Bucky
White
should be back this week.
Yeah, so Bucky will probably start, but Rashad White's been great. And Baker's been playing really well. So I think that's gonna be a lower scoring game. I think it's going to be a really like gritty type game. Drake May, I think, will go into Tampa and play well. I think Bowles will try to have something to knock him, at least get him off his spot, or at least make him uncomfortable at what he's really looking at. And try some different things that maybe he hasn't seen yet in reading coverages. But I think it's gonna be a really good game. I don't know. I don't know who I favor in that one. New England's been really hot, but again, I think Tampa Bay has just continued to find ways to win when they haven't been healthy. So, not counting them out at all. Yeah, that's gonna be a great matchup.
I don't think it's going to be a matchup at all. Gonzalez primarily plays the outside. Ibuka primarily plays in the slot. I think it's a nice matchup on names, but I'll say this. Christian Gonzalez was the number 1 rated cornerback in the NFL going into last week. And I'll sit on here and say things that I have to say. Drake London made me a believer last week. He absolutely dominated that football game. And he dominated Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez was there on coverage, but it was Drake London was just like, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm Batman, and just grabbed the ball from him. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll get it a little bit more because when Evans and Godwin were both out, they were moving him outside a little bit more to give him more room, and he kind of became the number 1 target. So with Godwin back, I think you will probably see him back in the slot predominantly, but I think he'll go out there a little bit. So you'll probably get that matchup at least a couple times.
If London did that all day on Marcus Jones, then my apologies, but I'm almost sure that Drake London had a couple big catches over Christian Gonzalez. But let me find out real quick. I mean, he's a Patriots fan. Drake London had 9 receptions for 118, 3 touchdowns, but against Christian Gonzalez specifically, data shows he had 3 catches for 67 yards. His largest play against Gonzalez being a 40-yard reception before Gonzalez left with a head injury. I 3 catches for 67 yards on 1 corner. I would say it's pretty good. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's get into pick'em. By the way, Charlie, we knew this was going to happen. I knew it couldn't last forever. I had a losing week. I went 1-2. But I want to blame my losing week. I do. I want to blame it. I want to blame it on Sean.
On who?
Sean Payton.
I think you're blaming it on me. All right, that's fair. Go ahead.
Sean Payton is a dirty scumbag. And they took out C.J. Stroud, and I think if C.J. Stroud never gets taken out of that game, the Texans comfortably win that football game. They lost 18-15. They couldn't move the ball after C.J. Stroud left the field. Davis Mills stinks. I think if they didn't take a dirty shot on C.J. Stroud, yeah. I don't know.
It's like Bounty Gate or something.
It felt like it. I mean, he's already been the coach who had Bounty Gate dirty, right? Yep.
Yeah. It's him.
I felt like I got cheated. I'm gonna be honest.
I gotta get more consistent. I've gone 3-0, 0-3 back-to-back weeks.
Well, you're 12-12. Hopefully Cottrell will post his picks on the page to continue up with the tradition. But Shally, I'd like you to lead us off, and then I'll go second.
All right. I'm gonna start in Green Bay with the game we already talked about. I'm going with the Birds -2 or +2.5. Sorry, at Green Bay. I think Green Bay has I don't want to say gotten too much praise for what they've done this year, but they've had a couple games where they haven't looked good either. Carolina coming into your crib and just smashing you. I don't care if it's a look-ahead game, which or a trap game, whatever you want to call it, which it probably was, but you still can't lose to Carolina. I think the Eagles are just better across the board. I like our our linebackers and our secondary against those receivers, and I think we'll be able to move the ball against the defense. So I like the Eagles +2.5. Second game, Detroit -7.5 at Washington. No Jaden Daniels, obviously. Washington's defense is beyond banged up, and the guys they do have playing aren't playing well. I think Detroit coming off a bad loss as well to Minnesota, like we talked about. I would hope this week is back to basics, like Gene brought up earlier. Give the ball to your best player. Jahmyr Gibbs should touch the ball 20 to 25 times in this game. I think he has a huge game. I think Detroit goes into Washington, gets a good road win, covers, goes home with a dub. Last game, Giants at Chicago -4.5. I'm going to hope that this was the turning point for Caleb and Ben to finally be on the same page. I know a lot of it had to do with Cincinnati's defense being awful, but they're at home. I'm hoping the confidence carries over. Giants are going to struggle offensively now without Cam, and Neighbors has already been out. They are banged up everywhere as well. Jackson on the road. I'm going to take the the Bears -4.5 at home. I think they win by a touchdown.
I had 3 picks this week, and 2 of them are chalky, and all 3 of them. I'm probably with the public on all 3 of my picks this week, which is never a good sign. But 2 I like, and I'm sticking with it. I'll start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, -2.5 over the New England Patriots. They're playing at home. They're off the bye. New England had an escape game. I call these exhale games. He had an escape game at home versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons went in, tied the football game up, and the kicker missed the extra point. What are we doing? Give me the Buccaneers -2.5 coming off the bye over New England. Second game, I said this to you guys 3 weeks ago. I'm hoping John Suggs listened to me. He said he did in the chat. We'll see. Put $500 if you have it on the Ravens to win the division. I said 2 weeks ago. It doesn't look so crazy anymore. Ravens winners of 2 straight. They're going into Minnesota to go against J.J. Stinky McCarthy. I'll take the Ravens -4 over a bad quarterback in Minnesota and the Vikings. And then for my third pick, no CJ Stroud. I watched this Houston Texans team play with Davis Mills last week. The Jaguars defense has been good for three quarters. If you get a lead in this game, just take the air out of the football. Davis Mills isn't bringing you back. Give me the Jaguars plus 1.5 over the Houston Texans. That's my 3 picks this week. I'm chalky. I don't like being that chalky.
Chalky.
Ravens definitely by double digits. Rams 49ers this week. By the way, before we move off the NFL, we'll move off in a second. We're going to go right to college football. But Coach of the Year is probably Mike Vrabel or Shane Steichen. One of those two, 100%. But Kyle Shanahan has to be right there. The Niners are 6-3 with Brittle. They're 5-1 with Mac Jones. What are we? It's insane.
But I still think he's a distant third to those two. I think Mike Vrabel turning a dumpster fire completely around with a second-year quarterback, just kind of really making that Patriots team look like it did 10 years ago, is a tough argument to beat. Shane Steichen, we know how good of a coach he was, a great offensive mind. I think he'll get a lot of love for, making Daniel Jones look like a really good quarterback, and having Indianapolis have a great year. So I think those two are going to be hard to beat. I don't disagree with you with Kyle, but at the same time, he still has had C-Mac. I think Mac Jones, love him or hate him, he's probably one of the better backups in the league. He's got a lot of experience in starting, so not ideal situation by any means, but I don't think it's as impressive as what the other two have done.
Okay. I just want to give him credit because
absolutely, I think Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. He just can't win the big one.
Look, he chokes in the big one, man. Lane Kiffin syndrome. Talk about some college football, some college footy ball. This is normally the time I would be able to pass it over to my compadre, College Cottrell, to talk about this week's biggest matchups, ranked v ranked. But, your boy came prepared. I want to talk about the new rankings, and I want to get your opinion of the first college football rankings of the year and get your take on them. What were your thoughts on the first college football rankings? The release of the big, the top 4 teams and what teams do you think are too high or too low? And, the top 4, I think, are right. Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, and Alabama. I don't see much argument for those 4 against those 4, at least.
No, they're definitely the right 4. It's the same thing as it is always for me, Gene. It's consistency. It's, Ohio State's been one all year. Is it Ohio State who's never been really in any danger at all? They're kind of. I think one could make the argument we don't even know what Ohio State is yet because they've been in cruise control, and they keep giving Julian Sayin a play or two more of the pay of the game plan every week, and he goes out and tries new stuff, and the kids looked incredible. Indiana is just boat racing people. Don't necessarily have, I think, on paper necessarily the resume as some other teams, but the eye test, you watch them play, and you can't say they're not a good football team. If you're going by analytics and what it looks like on paper, you could argue A&M's the best team in the country with their big wins and so forth and so on. But they've been in a couple close games, and I don't think their defense is as good as the top 2 teams in front of them. And then you have Alabama, who is just the battle-tested front runner in the SEC right now. That's got 5 ranked wins, and if anybody's deserved their spot in the top 4, it's and earned it. It's Alabama. But they changed things this year, and we've talked about this at length on Coast to Coast, and you see a little bit of it in this rankings. Some people are valuing the eye test more. Some people are just basing it off of, what it looks like on paper, strength of record, strength of win, bad losses, all that stuff. So I can't say one's right or one's wrong. It's too early. But at the same time, I don't know how you can put 10 people in a room. They all have agendas. Don't get it wrong. They all have agendas. And then not have them all judging the same way. So it's consistently inconsistent, which has been my gripe with it from the get-go. I still take it over the computers, don't get me wrong, but it's still maddening and frustrating at the same time.
Bill, eye test. I want to ask you a question real quick.
Go.
Who's the best team in the state of Texas? No, I'm not talking about ranking wise. I'm talking about your power rankings. Who's the best team in the state of Texas? There's 3 of them that are ranked in top 12.
Yeah, there is. So this kind of gets into my thing a little bit. I think Texas is ranked too high. I think Texas had a convenient win over Oklahoma with a hurt John Mateer. They had a great win last week, but the week before that, they needed a miracle to beat Mississippi State. I think Texas Tech is still the 3rd. They're coming though, but again, if I'm ranking them, I'm going Texas Tech 3, Texas 2, and Texas A&M 1.
Okay. Texas
but
Tech
I will say, I think 2 of the last 3 weeks, I think you see the Texas team that everybody thought this team was going to be. So if we continue to build on that, they got a couple tough games left, but if they can get through that, then I think Texas becomes a very interesting player in this whole thing. But if they lose another game, I think they're out. So it's, again, I think they're probably ranked a little bit higher than they should be because, again, I'm hearing people stick up for them saying, oh, well, they had a great win last week, but they're punishing other teams for not blowing people out. And you needed an overtime miracle to beat debatably the worst team in the SEC the week before. So which is it? Like, again, it's just not consistent. It's whatever whatever the argument fits for you that current week to move your team up closer to help your conference. And that's what it is right now.
Did Georgia Tech get punished too heavily for losing this week? They're 8-1.
I don't. They were. I think what's hurting Georgia Tech is, as a whole, the ACC is not great. I mean, Clemson is just completely pissed on themselves and falling apart. Same thing with Florida State. Miami's lost 2 or 3 since you picked them. You have Virginia sitting up there, but I don't know if we really know what they are. And I think Georgia, but to the point I just made, Georgia Tech played a lot of close games. If you want to argue they were in that begging to get beat category, you can make a good argument for that. Cottrell loves them and loves Haynes King, and I love them too, but Cottrell would probably tell you they were probably in the begging to get beat category.
They were.
And you play too many close games and you lose one, then people have the ability to go back and be like, well, they probably should be 5-3. And I hate that because it's going the opposite way for Texas. So yeah, I think they got punished probably a little too much. It's not a great loss though, and they dropped 9 spots, I think.
They're down to 17.
Yeah, that's wild.
Not a lot of ranked v ranked this week. I mean, there's a couple of them, but we're gonna go over each one.
There are a couple of BS ones though. Like, to my point, people being ranked that shouldn't be ranked. They're ranked for this week, so somebody gets a ranked win. But we'll go over it. Keep going.
Well, A&M is only a 6.5-point favorite at Mizzou. I think that Mizzou is a very obvious team that needs to be dropped out of the rankings. They lost 2 out of the last 3. Their offense looks ridiculously stagnant since they've lost their starting quarterback. Your thoughts on Mizzou versus A&M?
I think you just nailed it right on the head. I don't think I got to add much to it. I think they are, since they've lost Bo, they've been a completely different team. They are struggling to move the ball with any kind of consistency right now. Defense, I'll be honest, their defense is a lot better than I thought it was. Their defense is keeping them in games. You can't give Texas A&M the ball all game long, all day long, and not think they're going to break a couple plays though. Um, I the spread is the spread makes you kind of stop and always think like one of those, does somebody know something I don't know type thing. But
Yeah.
if we're going off eye test and stuff like that, I think Texas A&M goes down to Missouri and wins. And I think they're the better football team by a mile, especially with the people that Missouri's missing right now.
Another spread that didn't look good to me either was very similar. Oregon is going to play at Iowa, and they're 6.5-point favorites. It's not a night game in Iowa; it's a 3:30 game in the afternoon. I don't. Oregon only being 6.5 feels light. Am I wrong there?
No, I think Iowa's one of those teams. I don't know what they did. There's USC, Iowa, Michigan all back to back at the bottom of the rankings. Michigan shouldn't have moved up with the way they played last week. USC should be ahead of them because they won head to head. I don't have a problem with that. Iowa's claim to fame right now, really, to be ranked is because they didn't get blown out by Indiana. That's it. Serious. My only gripe with USC is they're 1-1 in their last 3 weeks. They had a bye week. They moved back into the rankings on a bye week, and they're moving up now. Again, these are the games exactly that I'm talking about. USC has a better resume, has a better win. I have no problem with USC being ranked. I don't think Iowa should be ranked. I don't. It's just a lot. If you watch them play, they struggle to score on anybody. They have a good defense like they always do. But Oregon coming off a bye, I think it's late. But all it's going to matter is this. Again, this is an agenda game. This is enough people voted in that room to get Iowa in the top 25, and Oregon's going to go in there. They're going to be. I think they're going to beat them, and then Oregon's going to get a ranked win for the resume. Fair, foul, whatever you want to call it, but that's what we're doing here.
And then your other ranked v ranked matchup this week is, I guess I would call it the main event, but it's 12 noon. It's BYU at Texas Tech. Texas Tech 10.5-point favorites. BYU hasn't really played anyone. They beat Utah by 3. That's their signature win. They did the Iowa State at Iowa State, but Iowa State's fallen off the map.
Yeah, but I don't know when they beat Iowa State. I can't remember when. Oh, yeah. So BYU is interesting because they were kind of, they were definitely my darlings last year. And then I think we all thought they were going to kind of implode this year because they lost their starting quarterback right before the season when he got thrown out and he went to Tulane. And now they're sitting here 7-0. They're ranked 7th, I believe.
Yeah.
Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is definitely the better football team. They're at home.
Texas Tech's going to run all over.
Yeah, to your point, BYU is not as battle tested. Texas Tech just has a bad loss. That's all. They had an unexpected bad loss. This is a big game for the Big 12, though, because I think you're going to see this is pretty much an elimination game. I mean, for the most part, I think whoever wins this game is definitely going to go to the Big 12 championship game, most likely. But this is kind of showing you that the Big 12 is probably only getting one team in. This is the committee kind of setting it up and just letting you know what's going to happen. We'll see what type of game it is. If it's a really close game, I don't know how much they penalize BYU for losing on the road at Texas Tech. I don't think they would flip spots. I will tell you this, if they go to Texas Tech and lose by a field goal and we sit here Tuesday and BYU drops 8 spots or something, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. And that is, but at that point, that's the committee being like, whatever. We're only putting one Big 12 team in, and that sucks. If your only loss is is on the road to the Texas Tech's what's 11th, I think.
They're 8.
They're 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go on the road and your only loss is a close game to the 8th ranked team, and you fall completely out of the playoff, or at least don't have a path to get back in, that's shitty and that sucks, and that shouldn't be allowed.
Does college football want Notre Dame and Texas in the college football playoff?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, you're talking about two of the biggest blue blood programs in the country.
I'm just saying the way they're ranked 10th and 11th with 2 losses was.
I am not doing my Notre Dame diatribe tonight. But I've been all over them all year. Again, I don't know. They went to Boston College Saturday. They were 28.5-point favorites, and they got outplayed a lot of the game. Boston College sucks. They got outplayed most of the game, and somehow the eye test doesn't matter for them, and they moved up in the rankings. But for other teams, it's detrimental. You tell me, bud.
I don't know what happens with Notre Dame. They come out and play games versus when they played USC, it was an ugly game to begin with. But when they played earlier in the season and they played A&M in that 41-40 game, and they played Miami 27-24, even the way they beat NC State, they look good in some games.
Yeah.
And then they smashed Arkansas. Arkansas has played everybody good this year except Notre Dame.
Yeah. But you just nailed something else in the head. The Miami loss doesn't look like the Miami loss now. You know what I mean? Not busting your balls, but 3 weeks ago we were like, that Miami loss is a really good loss. Is it now?
It's not.
Yeah, it's not. So I mean, Miami might not make the playoff. So I would argue they probably won't. So why does nothing matter for them?
Oh,
they're moving up. Yeah. So I mean, again, to answer your question, yeah, they want them in there. and the lack of inconsistency with the rankings and and again, my team should not have moved. I wouldn't have been mad if my team moved down after the way we played Saturday. But you watch that game and then go watch Notre Dame play against Boston College. They were very, very, very similar efforts, and Notre Dame went up 2 spots and got out of the tricky get kicked out of the playoff spot for the group of 5. So they've avoided that now. And their schedule and again, their resume on paper sucks. USC is their best win. And again, if you watch that game from start to finish, you would not walk out of that game and be like, "Oh, Notre Dame is definitely better than USC." USC threw up all over themselves numerous times in that game. So I don't know. I love watching. I will say this: I have no problem admitting when a kid is great, and I made no bones about it last year when they were in the playoff. I love watching Jeremiah Love play football. Love it. That kid is an absolute just unit. I love watching him run over people and then making people miss and fall to the ground and look silly, and then he has the ability to just run away from people. I love him. I think the kid's a stud, but I just don't. You can't convince me for sure that they're one of the best 12 teams in the country. You just can't. Their defense is atrocious. It is terrible.
Will ACC not have a team in the playoff?
Virginia, they have to have a team in the playoff.
Yeah.
They at least get the Big 10, SEC, ACC, and Big 12 at least get one automatic bid in. Now, they could have a team that doesn't end up being ranked in the top 12, but they'll still get one in. Who's ever the highest ranked ACC team at that time would then move up to the 12 seed and kick. So if you had a 10-2 Texas team there in the 12 seed, that'd be worst case scenario, because then Virginia would get in, or Virginia, Georgia Tech, whoever would get in, and Texas would get kicked out. That's why you never want to be ranked 12th. That's the seat you want to avoid at all costs. And it could be a double whammy this year, because if a group of 5 team doesn't end up in the top 12, which it doesn't look like it's going to, you wouldn't want to be in 11 or 12 because they could both possibly get kicked out. And where's Notre Dame miraculously ranked, Gene?
10th.
Oh, shocker. Sure, that's not a coincidence.
No, not at all. All right, let's get into our pick'em this week. Let me put up the graphic. A decent week, I'm trying to keep up with you guys in Superdog. You guys get the Superdog points. Right now, you're leading the pack. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first. You can wrap it up as always. We already talked about, I think, all the games I'm picking, which is ironic.
Same.
Yeah, Texas A&M -6.5 in Missouri. Give me the Aggies. I just think they're better. I think Missouri's had a great start to the year with what they've lost. No shame, and you lose your starting quarterback in college football. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. No shame in it. I just think A&M is going to come to town. They're on a roll. Somehow, in a weird way, I still feel like they're floating below the radar of a lot of people. Give me the Aggies. Oregon -6.5 at Iowa. I don't think Iowa's offense can keep up. Oregon coming off a bye. I think they're going to be a little bit healthy. They're going to be ready to go. Cleaned up some of the stuff they had going on. I think Dante Moore and the boys get back on track. Give me the Ducks at Kinnick. I'm going to take Virginia -6.5 at home against Wake Forest. They've been really good there. I think Wake Forest is a team that plays good for stretches, but I do not think that I don't think they have a chance to go to Virginia win. I think Virginia stays undefeated at home. So give me Virginia -6.5. Superdog, I'm going to take Navy +27.5. This game always scares me because it goes one of two ways. They either get blown out or they control the ball enough and they make it, a low possession game and it gets hairy. Notre Dame always usually finds a way to win. That's fine. 4 touchdowns is a lot. So this game will either be like 35-10 at half or it'll be like 10-7. So I'm hoping for the second one.
Yeah, I get it. I'll give you mine. Let me get the graphic off the screen. Sorry about that. Pick UCLF over Houston or Tulane over Memphis. I got my picks. Let me put mine up here. What happened to my Superdog?
No.
Give me 1 second. I have my Superdog written down. It's not. It's the. I think it is what he just said, but let me just double check. They're getting 20.5. Yep. Yeah. No, it's not anybody. He just said. All right. So I also have A&M over Mizzou -6.5. I think they're the better football team. I think Mizzou, ever since they lost Bo Pribula, it's not an offense that's moving the football. Give me A&M to win by more than a touchdown. My next game, I have Oregon -6.5 over Iowa. I think Dante Moore. I want to play a quick game with you as soon as we're done here. But I think Dante Moore and Oregon, really good offense. I think they'll be able to score enough. I don't think Iowa's offense will be able to keep up with Oregon. I'm rooting for the opposite of you in the Notre Dame Navy game. I have Notre Dame -25.5 over Navy, and I'm going for the latter. These two teams played last year. I think it was 56-13.
Yeah.
I'll take Notre Dame to dominate Navy again. I think they'll run all over them. I think it'll be a dominant performance. And then for my super dog, give me Cal +20.5 at Louisville. I don't think Louisville's that good. I think Cal's played some really good football. It's Saturday night game, so the jet lag won't kill them on the travel. I'll take Cal, who's played really good football at times, to pick me up some super dog points. I don't know if they'll win, but I think they'll keep it close with Louisville. So I'll take Cal +20.5. I want to do something with you real quick.
Sure.
And it's the quarterback ladder. Okay.
Okay.
And it's going to be college football edition. And I have this set up for you.
All right. I like this.
So what this is going to be is a projection of what you think they'll be as NFL quarterbacks.
Okay.
Like, who do you think are these guys? So I'm going to start with this one. Garrett Nussmeier or Carson Beck?
Jesus Christ.
There's a reason. There's a ladder.
I know. I didn't realize we were starting in the mud.
We're starting in the mud.
Man, oh man. I'll go Nussmeier.
I agree with that. Garrett Nussmeier or Arch Manning?
I'll go Arch.
Okay. Arch Manning or John Mateer?
Ooh. That's a good one. Man, John Mateer started the year so freaking hot. I'm gonna get one more year out of Arch. I'll just go Arch because of lineage.
Arch Manning or Julian Sayin?
Julian Sayin.
Julian Sayin or Fernando Mendoza?
Julian Sayin.
Julian Sayin or Dante Moore?
Julian Sayin.
Julian Sayin or Lenoris Sellers?
Julian Sayin.
Jesus. Julian Sayin or the projected number 1 overall pick at this point, Ty Simpson?
Julian Sayin.
Do you think Julian Sayin is the most pro-ready quarterback? Not pro-ready, but will have the best pro career out of all those quarterbacks?
I think from what I've seen from him so far, mind you, he's being protected a little bit, and he's throwing the ball to the best wide receiving core in the country. And Jeremiah Smith and Tate have made a couple catches that probably are either incompletions, maybe interceptions, and turn them into touchdowns. Helps his stat line a little bit. My biggest thing with him is he's got a cannon for an arm. But you watch him play between the ears, I think he has figured a lot of it out already. He doesn't really put the ball in bad situations. And for a freshman, it's pretty impressive.
I'll say this, and you guys can beat me up if I'm wrong in 4 years. I think the best pro quarterback out of this entire group is Dante Moore. I think he's everything that you look for in a quarterback in today's modern NFL.
I like Dante Moore. I definitely think Dante's game has the ability to translate to the NFL, obviously, because, his athleticism, he'll be able to keep plays alive. He'll be a playmaker. He needs to clean stuff up, though. And it's very I think he can get there. I'll say that. I don't think it's above him. His thing sometimes is mental. And I'd really like to see him play. Once I see him play in a pro style offense, I think I would have a better gauge of what he can do. But I think he has the tangibles and the tools to do it. I'll say that. And I think Ty Simpson, I think is in a weird way, is kind of an unprototypical Alabama quarterback in that I think he can succeed in the NFL.
Let's move on to college basketball.
I can't believe you left Bryce out of that conversation. That's where I thought we were headed. That's what you were going to make me pick.
Bryce Underwood?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's played well enough to be in that conversation yet.
No, but we were projecting NFL. And
I didn't want to put you in that position because I think that I need to see a lot more of Bryce Underwood before I put him in that combo.
Yeah. He's 18.
I think he'll get there.
Yeah, I think so.
I also think we'll have another year to have that conversation next year because he's not going anywhere.
No, we got him for 2 more years.
Let's go to college basketball. The season started already. Some fun games started already. Cameron Boozer took over the second half last night for the Dukies.
Boy, did he.
What I'm going to ask you is I'm going to ask you to give me your Final Four projections.
All right.
What I think we should do is you give one. If I have the same one, I will give that one. If not, I'll give one of mine.
Okay.
So we'll go one by one, and I'll give our reasons why. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I'm very chalky.
So am I. All right, I'll go first. Am I going first?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll go first, and I'll talk about the team you just brought up. I'm going with number 6, Duke. And the biggest reason why is the kid you just mentioned, Mr. Boozer. That kid took over the game last night. I think John Shire and company, I think, are going to be a little bit. I think if you watched Duke last year, they were great. A lot of what they did relied upon Cooper Flag, and for good reason. Don't get me wrong. I think they're a deeper, a little bit more well-balanced team this year. I think they're going to be harder to beat this year. So Duke is my first team to put in the Final Four.
I do not have Duke in my Final Four.
Ooh. I thought for sure that was going to be one of the ones we matched on.
Nope. I'll start with Purdue. I love Braden Smith. I think that tournament-wise, it's different. We'll see how long they can make it. But I love having a point guard that understands how to run the offense. I think they might be the overall number 1 seed this year. I love the way Purdue. They have an inside-outside game. Braden Smith's going to be the best point guard in the country this year. I'll go with Purdue.
I also have Purdue. I also love Braden Smith. I think you touched on something else for me that I think is going to make this Purdue team a little bit different than in the past. I don't think they're going to rely on their bigs as much this year. I think this Purdue team is going to be a little bit more athletic, which I think is going to benefit them come tournament time. We talk about it, and I know you look at guard experience in tournaments as a big thing. When you fill out brackets and pick teams, to have debatably the best point guard in the country leading your team into the tournament, I think is a big deal. So Purdue is my second team into the Final Four.
Fletcher Lawyer looked incredible the other night. Dropped 30 points. I get it. It's versus Evansville, but he looked very, very good.
Yep.
Now it's my turn to go with the second one, and then you see if you have one that team on yours. So you already gave 2. Never mind. My second one is Dylan Sampson and the Houston Cougars. Kelvin Sampson, not Dylan Sampson. I'm getting the NFL. Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars. I think they consistently play great defense, and offensively, they're going to be a much better team this year than they've been in years past. Sometimes it feels like there's a lid on the can for them. I don't think that's the case this year. I also think that Houston benefits from playing in a conference where they're not going to get really tested. They're probably going to go 31-2. So I'm going to go with Houston and Kelvin Sampson.
Houston is also in my Final Four. Houston might be my pick to win the national championship this year. Is this the year Kelvin Sampson finally gets over the hump? I do agree with you. I think they've been great defensively for 4 or 5 years now. The detriment to their team is always scoring. They struggle to score down the stretch sometimes. To your point, I think with what they've got in the portal, I think they're going to be a little bit more free-flowing offensively, which I think is going to be huge for them. You brought up the other thing, which is very important. They're not going to play in the Big Ten. They're not going to play in the ACC where you're getting the shit kicked out of you night in and night out against really good teams. They're going to play a bunch of teams they're going to blow out by 30 sometimes. They probably will walk into the tournament at 31-2 or 31-3. They're there, but they've proven themselves not to be a fluke from a couple years ago. They went to the Final Four again last year. They moved to the Elite Eight the year before that. He is completely that program right now is a top 5 program in the country. If you're basing it upon results, so I think Kelvin Sampson's been a good coach for a long time. He was a good coach at Oklahoma when he was there. Always liked him. I have Houston as my third Final Four team.
I guess I got to give my third because you've already given 3.
Our last one will not match. I promise.
Well, you know that obviously. I think I told you beforehand. But my third one is a team that's already 0-1, and it's the Florida Gators. Look, Thomas Hall, Alex Condon are back from last year's team, but one addition that I really want to point out is Boogie Fland. Boogie Fland moved over, transfer, sophomore. This kid, Bronx, New York kid, started 18 games last year for Arkansas and looked good. Transferred to Florida. It'll take a little bit to get, their legs underneath them, I think Florida has what it takes to make another deep, deep run in the Final Four.
Well, thankfully, Florida is not my final team. I think Florida's still going to be good. I think they're going to be in the mix. I just losing Walter, man. I mean, it's just a huge hole. Defending's always tough, but I'm going with team that this team debatably had the best run on the portal of anybody. They've got 2 top 15 kids in the portal, or from the recruiting class last year, plus what they bring back from a team that overachieved a little bit last year. They're ranked 7th this year. I think the Big Ten puts 2 teams in the Final Four this year. I like Michigan. People are going to call me a homer, but Dusty May's a great coach. He has all the type of kids that he needs. He's had a great recruiting class, like I said. And with what he is, the returning kids coming back, plus what they got out of the portal, they're going to run 2 bigs again when they want to. They beat the hell out of St. John's in an exhibition game a couple nights ago that didn't count for records. They're really good. They're really good, and they're really good defensively. I think Michigan and Purdue are going to battle for the Big Ten all year. I think the Big Ten kind of has a coming out statement this year in the tournament, and I actually think somebody from the Big Ten wins the title this year.
My 4th team, and once again, they looked really bad in their first game. They got out there with a win, but you're basically winning versus Little Sisters of the Poor. They beat Eastern Washington 80-74. But give me Donovan Dent, the transfer, and the UCLA Bruins. I think UCLA has a lot, and this is what happens with a lot of these teams. They pick people out of the transfer portal. They get people to move over, and they have 3 guys in their starting lineup that are transfers, just like St. John's, who is another one that was dipping right near my top 4. But Donovan Dent, guy who was incredible for New Mexico. You've seen him in the field of 64. He was New Mexico's best player. He averaged 20 and 6. The guy knows how to play basketball. He's transferred over. He's a senior. Love him. They have 2 senior guards in him and Sky Clark. I think UCLA makes a deep run this year. They're my last Final Four team.
I'm very curious to see if we can get Cottrell somehow. I'd be really to see where he's at right now, because he's usually a step ahead of even me on college basketball. So, text him and see if he can give us his 4 real quick. But I'm looking forward to it, man. Just start. I know a bunch of teams are playing their first games tonight. It's just that time of year where it just keeps on moving, man. We're halfway through the NFL season. We're already starting to talk about the playoff for college football. NBA just started. NHL just started. College basketball. Wild. Great time to be a sports fan.
No, you ain't lying. You are not lying. I do think it's wild, though, that 2 of my 4 teams already look terrible. Florida's already got a loss on the resume. I know it's early. I get it. Arizona's a good team. But Florida's already got a loss on the resume, and UCLA basically almost lost the Little Sisters of the Poor.
I mean, listen, Florida has to get used to life without, the guy that literally ran the tournament last year. That's, you can simulate that in practice all you want until you get into a game and you look around, like you said, and you're playing another good team and you're like, damn, we're down by 2. Like, what are we going to do? Last year it was like, yo, give the ball to the little guy. He's going to win the game for us. And he did over and over and over again. That's tough to replace, and I think that's the one thing about Duke. I think Boozer is going to probably be their best player, but I think all the other guys that played around Cooper last year that are still there, that are back, have all that experience and depth. And again, I think they're going to play a little bit. They'll have a more well-rounded offense and game plan. I'm not saying Cooper played selfishly last year, but he always got the focus, and it was not easy, but you knew certain things they were going to do. I think Duke will be a little bit more balanced this year. I think it'll be a little bit harder to play in certain situations. And then you got UConn, who I think some people are sleeping on. They're ranked really high after kind of a clumsy year, I guess you could call it.
I was just about to bring UConn up. UConn still brings back Alex Karabin. I mean,
Yep. So, I mean, it's a matter of how they play around him. As long as he can stay healthy, he's obviously going to be one of the best players in the country. And in St. John's, we'll see. I mean, Rick, Rick,
No,
Rick,
it's St. John's. They're a brand new team.
yeah, Rick Pitino's made no bones about it. He's really not recruiting anymore, unless it's somebody he really thinks he can get. And he's just going to build the team out of the portal every year. Kind of crazy, but the dude's a legend of a coach. He always has been. On the court, off the court, debatable. But you know, that's a storied program. So I mean, they play a lot of their games in the Garden. That is a team that if they're good, again, it's probably good for college basketball.
All righty.
Don't even ask.
You don't have one? Yeah. You gotta start getting. You got to be kidding these, bro.
I know, bro. I'm struggling. Work is finally slowing down, which is good. Everything else will be over. So like, I can really get back into like really following everything. I am concentrating on making sure I'm seeing the things that I need to see right now to be up to snuff when we get on the show. So I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but
there's just so many in the sports world. Like I almost used Chase Brown and Jamar Chase and the Bengals and Bears game. I almost used Jerry Jones and pumping up a trade and then trading for a backup linebacker from the only team that has a worse defense than them. I almost used all of those, but I got to use the Arizona Cardinals, and I'll tell you why. The Arizona Cardinals won a football game, right? It couldn't be more clear what the Arizona Cardinals were doing. Jacoby Brissett was named the starting quarterback, and then they placed Kyler Murray on IR. Kyler Murray could have played Monday night. Jonathan Gannon knows his job is on the line, and he feels like Jacoby Brissett gives them the best chance of winning. So what they're doing is they're telling the doctors to say that his injury needs plenty of time to heal, and they're putting him on IR so they can make a change at quarterback and then allow Jacoby Brissett an opportunity to start 4 games. So if he starts the 4 games and he does well, there's your built-in excuse to keep him. And if he doesn't do well, your starting quarterback is hurt, and you're not deteriorating the overall brand of Kyler Murray. To me, it is so obvious what they're doing, and it became obvious when Kyler Murray was talked about starting this entire time, and this past week on Monday Night Football, and they made the decision that he wasn't going to start to keep him out another week. And then after they went into Dallas and won, the decision was made. The part that is you got to be kidding me is you put Kyler Murray on IR, and then you name Jacoby Brissett your quarterback. That's not what Arizona did. Arizona named Jacoby Brissett the starter and benched Kyler Murray, and then when they got backlash from the contract that they spent on Kyler Murray, then they put him on IR 6 hours later. So for that, this week, the Arizona Cardinals, the front office, Jonathan Gannon, whoever you want to talk about.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Almost has a little sprinkle of like Sean Payton, Russell Wilson stuff going on there.
That's 100. I mean, I feel like it's something.
I feel like it's something. I feel like if Kyler Murray like files a grievance, it's going to be a way bigger something.
You're not wrong.
I also feel like, to your point, I think Kyler. I don't know if somebody's going to be willing to give Kyler a fresh start. I just don't know if he's played well enough that somebody's going to trade for him or whatever. And like you said, Jonathan Gannon. I think he knows he's coaching for his job, and I think he knows that Kyler's not the guy. And it's got to be a crazy feeling just to say, I'm going to put all my eggs in the Jacoby Brissett basket. But it's the NFL, man. Like you said, marry the coach and the quarterback. I don't know how many times we've said that, but Jonathan Gannon obviously wants nothing to do with Kyler Murray. It can't really be more clear than that.
That's all we got this week. Any final thoughts, Charlie?
No, Cottrell just read my text. I was going to see if he answered really quick, but I don't know if he's going to. See who his final four was off the top of his head. But no, man, just to circle back on him, like we opened the show. Really cool thing to see. Cottrell and Augie really start their family. Have a little baby boy named Uriah. Just super cool thing to even be around and be a little minuscule part of. Couldn't be happier for the both of them. Love them both. Glad everybody's healthy. August, doing well as well, which is great. So happy for them, and that's the best thing that happened this week for me. So that takes a backseat to the old sports world.
You're not lying. My final thoughts are the same thing. I couldn't be happier for Audie and Cottrell. Love them both dearly, and super happy for the start of their family. And that's way bigger than what we do here. And It's fun to be able to talk sports with Cottrell weekly. But I am so happy to see him, Audie, and their family grow.
I have his answers.
All right. Cottrell's final four. That's how we'll end the show.
That's right. Duke.
Okay. Cameron Boozer.
Kansas.
Okay.
UConn.
That makes sense.
And then here's the one kind of shot out of the cannon. BYU.
I don't agree with it. Sorry. Hey,
I will tell you this. I don't think he would pick that lightly, so he's got a reason for it. So that'll be a fun discussion for us to have down the road.
Well, tune in the next week to find out why Cottrell picked BYU. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. We're missing Kent State's own, Cleveland's own College Cottrell. That's Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally, Mr. William Shawcross. And we are signing